Uh, this video is kind of in my line of what to know before you pick up a camera. This isn't really beginning level stuff, but this one is the motivation to photograph, or what motivates a person to photograph or to take the picture they're out to take. I'm going to break this into two sections because I think it's getting a little long on these. One is actually the first one is going to be the three actual motivations that take place. The other one, I'm going to give examples of what happens with those motivations, and also talk a little more about when they get confused, when you aren't keeping them straight. So this is not new. This is something that I learned in class 40-some years ago when I was in a photojournalism student up at the University of Alaska in Fairbanks. And we had one of the, I think the new dean of the department come in and talk to our class. They were kind of batting this around the department, and he was coming up with the idea of, and again, this is coming from a journalistic background, and trying to produce the best photojournalistic students to go out and do the job they're supposed to do. The three motivations that he was working on were the idea to inform, to cause action, and for self-fulfillment. So with these are reasons he felt people were the motivation behind people picking up a camera. You're either going to go out and you're going to go through and document and of what's going on. You're doing it to get information or to create something of an informative or information style. The other one is you're doing it to go through to somebody to see it and say, oh, I'm going to take some action here. I'm going to do something. And self-fulfillment is just the pure joy of the photographing. So I will cover these three areas in a little more depth here, and hopefully do some little photo things over here to kind of illustrate, if I can dig some stuff up. And then I'll get into the area of confusing motivation and give some examples of that, and the idea of changing hats, how it can be fluid on this. So I'll go into a little more detail on each one. First one is to inform. And this is to document something. You kind of think of newspapers, news photography, photojournalism, doing research work, doing a documentary, using photography to capture an image of the world or a piece of the world or something in it at just a moment. Still photography just catches a moment of time. So you can remember it. It's a very good tool to remember things and to document what's out there. Pure documentation can be just a family snapshot. It can be a science research photo. It can be a wedding where you're just documenting the occasion, the event, the wedding. It can be a driver's license or a passport photo. It can be your selfie. It can be a yearbook photo. So in these cases, we're just capturing, just documenting visually things in the real world. And photography works in the real world. Unlike illustration, it can work strictly in your mind and then go from there. But initially, image acquisition or taking a picture happens in the real world. The motivation behind this is a visual record to remember or to inform others. If If you're doing something for news, or if you're doing an informative blog or vlog or something, then you're capturing an image to let people know, to inform them about what you're seeing out there, and to bring that back to them. Your audience, a lot of times you got to keep in mind, in these first two, we keep in mind the audience on it. You have to know, you have a known audience that you're going to be working to or capture an image for. You know what kind of image is needed to keep them informed. So those are some characteristics of that. You're going to do a photograph to inform. Two is to cause action. The second motivation is to cause action. To move people to action, to persuade. Think of advertising. Think of propaganda, publicity, editorial. In this case, we're not just getting the facts. We're getting information, we're getting visual in a way that we hope it's going to move people in a direction. Using a photo to visually carry a message with the hopes it will move those who see it to do something, moving to action. Photography, because it seems so real, allows us to emphasize with, or allows people to empathize with what they see. So it can evoke strong emotional response. A lot of times that strong emotional response is what's needed to get people to then go through and take action. It can also just make people aware of a condition that they would have acted on if they had known that it was happening. So sometimes you are doing a documentary type of image. You're going to inform, but in where it's presented, the audience is reaching, you're now informing them. And a lot of times you're doing it with the hope that they will go through and take action, that they'll go through and move to do something that you are feeling also. So a documentary photo can turn into a call for action. This moving to action also is used in commercial work. It sells something. It's used in political work for propaganda. So the action may be, doesn't this cup of coffee with the nice little floaty heart thing on top look great? Quick run down to your local coffee bistro and get yourself a cup of coffee. So that's what a lot of the advertising work is done. You're going to be glamorizing a product. You're going to be romancing the stone to go through and to hopefully get people to take action. This can also be a commercial art photographer shooting for an audience whose action is to purchase his photograph. Years ago, I studied in on different types of galleries and how they sold, what they marketed. And one type of market was called sofa art. And this was something that people said that we need a piece of work, artwork, photograph that is going to go with our sofa. That's our colors. It has to be with our colors. In this case, the photographer, artist, knows his audience, and you want them to do something. You want them to like and purchase that print to put with their sofa. The motivation here is you're trying to get to be persuasive communication. So this gets into the idea of persuasive communication taking place. You have a desire to move people to action. You have a known audience. Most often they are targeting a group. Most often you're targeting a group or a class of people. This is in particular in advertising, you're doing that quite a bit on that. But also if you're doing something politically and you have a group of people that you want to go through and send a brochure or an email campaign, and you're trying to get them to empathize with your point and to take action on that. Okay, so the third is for self-fulfillment. You take a photograph for your own personal need, desire, or fulfillment. Think of fine art, truly fine art, not commercial fine art, or a hobby. You just have to please yourself. So in this case, the audience is you. You don't have to worry about yourself. If you like it, you got it. Maybe other people will like it too, but you're first and foremost, it's all just going to be your satisfaction with the photograph and what you're doing. This is most often thought of in fine arts, where the artist is following a vision or an idea, and this goes with art photographers, and where the artist is using the photographic media to bring about his personal vision of the world. The idea, they have a desire and is fulfilled by creating a photograph that pleases themselves. Okay, more on this. So there's no thought of a broader audience other than the photographer. This can also just be for pleasure. Sometimes just the process of creating the photograph, the personal discovery, they're creating what I call personal eye candy. You just visually go, ooh, I like this. And that's, maybe nobody else likes it, but you like the visuals, what's happening there. And it's really great if you've got that kind of desire and motivation, you have a chance to go for it, just to create your personal eye candy. I would put pure hobbyists in this category. They have the joy of seeing and doing what they have done. There's no boss looking at them. They don't have a deadline to make. They don't have a client to please. They can just really enjoy photography, enjoy the visual capturing of the world, a chance for them to discover themselves, a chance to discover what their rose-colored glasses look like. If you like the photo taken, it's good enough. Heck with the rest of the world. Okay, so those are the three motivations, and I've found those useful through the years. So that kind of concludes this part one. The part two is like, okay, great. There's the ideas. How does that play out a little bit more? You know, what can happen with that? So I'll go ahead and do that in a second video, and give some examples of how that can work and how it can play out. So that concludes this one, and I hope you found it useful, and I thank you for watching.